Max Meldrum's school was an active part of the Melbourne art scene in the 1910s and through the 20s and 30s. His underlying thesis was as dogmatic as his character and revolved around the principle of tonalism and direct appearances. His studio and method became a mecca for artists starting out on their careers, including A.M.E. Bale, Polly Hurry, A.E. Newberry and others. In 1916, Ewart Smith also opens the Julius Studios in Sydney and is visited by Meldrum, Gruner, Hans Huyssen and the Lindsay brothers. In 1917, Meldrum was working hard to maintain his credibility in the face of an oncoming freight train of modernism, and in the same year delivered a lecture entitled The Invariable Truths of Depictive Art at the Victorian Artists' Society. This coincided with a knife attack on his painting Peasant of Pace, hanging at the National Gallery of Victoria. Although regarded as something of an advancement on the Impressionist school in Australia, Meldrum and his followers, Percy, Leason, Newberry, Richard McCann and for a short time Clarice Beckett, the pace of change would quickly swamp his well-intentioned quest to uphold his insistence on what he called optical integrity. Meldrum, according to author Margot Tasker in her book on Percy Leason, virtually declared war on the modernist movement, and along with Percy Leason and Norman Lindsay was especially scathing of people like Gauguin and Cézanne. Eliot Gruner is even pilloried for liking Gauguin. Norman Lindsay, in a letter to Howard Hinton, writes, quote, "You are right to find Gruner's interest in the obscene Gauguin inexplicable. Among the various shocks that I have experienced during some 47,000 years, I count the discovery that Gruner had expressed an appreciation for this frightful savage to be one of the severest." When Gauguin stopped off in Melbourne on his way back to Tahiti in 1903, he made his way directly to the young Meldrum's house in Melbourne, only to find he was living in Brittany. His intention was to remonstrate with him over his less than generous appraisal of his work. However, the newly formed Meldrum Circle gathered together to meet and argue their position on Meldrum's behalf, ending in a reconciliation of sorts. Lunch was served, and now the historic photo of Gauguin standing at the centre back of this unlikely gathering was taken. He is seen looking across at what seems a resentful Justice Jorgensen, who defiantly maintained his disdain. Gauguin died in Tahiti, vowing never to return to Melbourne again.